Hello, my locals. This is Are You Ready For It? Today's October 21st, 2022, almost 10:30 a.m. Central Time. Politics overload. So I kind of moved my mic around and because I'm doing stuff and this isn't the midterm video. I do want to do a midterm video because that's going to be interesting. Some of those races have really tightened up, which is very intriguing. I'll go into that later. Anyway, there's so much shit going on, though, that I'm, like, thinking it through all in my head while I'm working. So I'm like, fuck it. If I'm going to talk to myself, I might as well talk to you guys. So I'm going to be working on stuff, and I guess you could call this a podcast. But anyway, this just popped up on my phone. Railroads reject demands from holdout union, raising odds of strike. It says America's major freight railroads have rejected demands from the only union that has so far refused to ratify their new contract brokered through the Biden administration, increasing the odds of a nationwide strike as early as mid-November. The National Carriers Conference Committee, NCCC, representing major railroads, including all these stupid people, it says Wednesday evening turned down new sick time demands made by the Brotherhood of Maintenance of Ways Employees Division and the International Brotherhood of Teamsters after its members voted last week to decline a 5-year contract offering a 24% raise and $5,000 in bonuses. Plop. It says the NCCC said the additional benefits requested by the union were rejected by President Biden's Presidential Emergency Board, PEB, and noted that PMWED signed off on a tentative agreement weeks prior to their membership voting on it. The union is the third largest union involved in the negotiations and the only one thus far out of the dozen involved that has voted against ratifying their new contract. However, it may not be the last. 6 unions have signed off on their new deals so far, but another 5 unions' votes remain outstanding. A major sticking point is the railroad workers say they lack sick time, and the railroads say that is not true. Quote, after following an unsuccessful initial membership ratification process, BMWED leadership is asking for additional benefits and threatening to strike, this time based on the easily disproven premise that union workers are not allowed to take sick leave, NCCC wrote. The railroad negotiators said that the rail employees can and do take time off for sickness, adding that it has been a long-standing agreement between the railroads and the unions that the time off is unpaid, quote, in favor of higher compensation for days worked, more generous sickness benefits for longer absences. When the BMWED members rejected the deal, the union agreed to return to the negotiating table and hold off on a strike until after Congress returns to session next month. Which doesn't make sense because they said it might be mid-November. Wait, we're in October. Yeah, that makes sense. All 12 unions must agree to their new contracts before time runs out in order to avoid a strike, but it holds out remains at this time. Congress is expected to intervene to avoid a work stoppage from threatening and to cripple the economy. That's cute. So that's still outstanding, meaning out there. And I posted about that a little bit ago, because Biden administration obviously said that was kind of a done deal, and it wasn't. Big surprise. Yeah, I heard about that. What was it, last week? Whenever I posted that shit. So that's fun to know about. That would be interesting as hell, wouldn't it? Fucking railroads go down. Oh man, it would be like the last straw for the economy functioning normal. But anyway, there's some other bullshit. trying and stay away from midterm stuff, and James is bored at work and he keeps texting me. I'm going to ignore that as well. Anyway, like I said in my last post or so, the El Paso mayor has come out and said that he's not going to bus illegal immigrants to New York and Chicago anymore, even though he's been doing it for quite a while and Abbott's the one getting reamed over it. But he has sent more, way more, because Abbott sent like 3,000, 14,000, that was rough, 14,000 immigrants to those places, and he has since paused that, which I find ironic, because yesterday, get this, on Fox News with Dana Perino, she asked him if the White House, because they had heard, had pressured him on not to issue a local emergency regarding this shit. And he said no. But then later on, footage came out prior to that interview of him at some council meeting or some shit. And he said, and he admitted that that was the case. So he just didn't want to admit it on Fox. He is a Democrat. So, like I said in my last post, I assume that conversation went, please stop making us look bad. You're causing major problems. Adams in New York is popping up tent cities. People are getting pissed. What can we do to make this stop? And this guy took some sort of bribe for something to stop this shit. Because it's too coincidental, obviously. And he claims that the Venezuelan, Title 42 that they're now enacting for Venezuelans. Yeah, get this. I don't know if I ever posted about this. Is supposedly dropping his numbers, which makes no sense because that hasn't even been in effect for very long. But the Title 42 they put back in place for Venezuelans specifically, saying that only 250 can come in daily, and whatever that comes out to a month, I don't know, 2,500 or something. Anyway, or even more than that. Was it 250? Anyway, I don't know. Do the math. Anyway, so yeah, they put in this random policy that nobody's questioning, by the way. Like, nobody. I haven't seen any network, any articles, any representatives, congressional members, nobody has been like, why the fuck are you just doing this for Venezuela? You know, I would think that would be a pretty good question. So if any of you have heard that, let me know. But otherwise, it's kind of suspicious as well, because obviously, recently, supposedly, this administration went and bowed down to Venezuela about getting gas and oil or whatnot from their wonderful, disgusting refineries or whatever the fuck. I don't think they refine it. I think we refine it. Anyway, because of what happened with OPEC. And I put this on Twitter. There's a couple things I'll pull up on my phone. It was funny. I put this on Twitter because the jackass that is a Democrat from, I don't know, Rocana is his name. I don't really care looking where he's from. But anyway, I think he's from California. Regardless, he said this on Fox Business, and I caught it, and I thought it was interesting. How stupid people think, especially Democrats, but like in general, people think, I guess. It's I wrote on here, interesting commentary by Rep. Rocana says we should punish Saudis for cutting oil by stopping arms sales and removing Fed contractors that service current equipment. That's what he said on Fox News, not verbatim. When confronted with a question about Saudi's concerns, the U.S. working on Iran deal, he said, the Saudis don't get to make U.S. policy. And I wrote, are you wanting to punish the Saudis for making their own policy with OPEC? How is that not hypocritical? And then I said, pissing off a frenemy that provides us energy, especially since Democrats cut ours, is not bright. So yeah, that isn't bright. If they follow through with that trash, whatever it may be, to punish the Saudis, I mean, oh my God. Talk about needing the reserve. He will start an energy war in this country, and we will be going around begging people for shit that are all dictators and assholes and not, besides Saudi Arabia being a frenemy, these other people. We're going to Iran. Really? We're going to Iran asking for oil. Anyway, so that would be horrific, because obviously OPEC is also part of several countries. It's not just the Saudis. So it's kind of like a club, if you will. And I can't remember the other countries involved. I think Russia's one of them. But anyway, I'm not sure. Anyway, so they're not the only ones that are involved. So it's kind of like being in the UN Security Council or UN P5 members, you know. They don't have 100% control over this shit. So you are punishing the Saudis, Saudi Arabia, for cutting 2 million? I don't think it was billion. 2 million barrels, or 200 million, whatever, barrels a day, okay, from the market. And the reason they're doing that, obviously, is to drive up the price and everything else that's going around. So it's an economic decision made by the Middle Eastern area. And we shouldn't really be able to step in with that, because, again, that is their policy. That is their domestic decisions and shit. Like I really want some Middle Eastern dumbass coming into the U.S. saying, oh, you should have Sharia law in this city. You have so many people that are like Middle Eastern. No. So that's ridiculous. But anyway, so we're going to punish the Saudis when they didn't do it by themselves and cause this huge war, right? And supposedly the arms sales was the major one, but then when Rouhani said what he did about pulling federal contractors that work on current equipment, that's a big goddamn deal. Not to mention we have military stationed over there. We have ABC agencies working over there. We've got federal contractors and other capacities over there. We have control and command over there. We've got intelligence of all kinds over in Saudi Arabia, and you want to piss them off. Good job. Way to go. So there's that. The other thing that was really funny, well, this isn't funny. This is interesting. And then I'll go to the funny thing that retarded Talib just did. Student loans, I was for sure pretty damn positive that was going to go down in flames. And I explained in a video that actually went public. I think you guys either remember or didn't watch it, whatever. It had to do with the HEROES Act, is how they're claiming they have the ability to do this legally, right? The HEROES Act, very quickly, was to pay off loans for service members. I don't think it extended beyond service members. I don't think it was family or anything. But people who were serving, that had student loans, that went in and were serving, they took over their student loan payments and certain things like that while they were serving. Shit like that. That's what the HEROES Act was. Supposedly, I don't know how, they have twisted these words way around into the Democrat hellhole that they usually do. I mean, these people spin shit like crazy. So where they're getting their authority from the HEROES Act is beyond me. Because I read the HEROES Act. It's only like 4 or 5 pages. And that's literally what it does. Period. End of story. So anyway, these people, like Amy Coney Barrett was recently petitioned, if you will, lack of a better term, from one of these states, something taxpayers. I don't remember what state. It's a state that she's over. Okay, because every Supreme Court justice is over a certain area. Because they got struck down at the lower courts, who were fighting against this, you know, saying this isn't right. Said the lower courts said they didn't have legal standing. And so they put it up to Supreme Court, to Coney, Barrett, and she said, yeah. So she's not going to take that up. Which, a lot of people are like, screw her, on the Republican side. And then there's obviously Democrats like, yeah, it's, when it goes their way, of course, it's wonderful. In my opinion regarding this, I actually kind of agree with her to a degree. Obviously don't have a law degree, but Jesus Christ, with all the shit I've read and things I know, I might as well be. I actually was considering going back to go to law school, but anyway, be a constitutional lawyer. Seems like it'd be pretty easy at this point. So anyway, not having legal standing actually makes sense. Unless these people are doing the lawsuit the way I said. Which basically means they don't have standing because the HEROES Act was not passed by Congress for the reason that they are doing, or for the way they are doing this through the Secretary of Education. This isn't done by Biden, it's through the department, saying that this is an overreach and they just don't have the authority. So I don't know what these court cases say, but the six attorney generals from Republican states, I think one of them was actually Eric Schmidt, which is running for Senate here in Missouri, where it was struck down the other day for the exact same reason, not having legal standing. So I really don't know what these people are fighting, okay, like what they're saying. But in general, if they're trying to say something like, this is going to affect our people, like taxpayers, in a very negative way, it could hurt our economy versus, regarding the states. And they could even claim, like, if they want to go really far, claim commerce between states, even all kinds of stuff. I mean, they could really pull some shit out of their ass. So I don't know what they're doing, but again, legal standing, I don't know how you could do a lawsuit on behalf of someone saying they don't have the legal right to be doing this based on the legislation they're reading. I don't know how you'd bring a lawsuit with a group of people on behalf of taxpayers, on behalf of taxpayer groups, whatever the fuck, to bring that up anyway. So I'd have to get creative with that one and have to run it past somebody. Anyway, so that's that, and I'm kind of questioning whether or not that's going to get shot down now. Because if these people can't figure out legal standing now, when are they? Like, this shit should have been pretty obvious, but like I said, I'm not a lawyer. So yeah, the student loan shit might actually go through. And it started the other day. The website started the other day, and they're already having problems. It's pretty funny. People that are students that are out of the country currently are having problems getting on with their IP addresses because they're foreign IP addresses. Duh! That should actually be the way it is. Like, to prevent foreign interference of any kind that would be obvious, who's not using a US VPN. I mean, that's kind of what I was thinking, is like, if you have a VPN, you can put it to any country you want it to be coming from. So if you were smart, all you'd have to do is turn on a VPN that was coming out of the United States, and bingo, bango, poof! You are obviously going to get in. So whatever. So that's a problem, and now they're going to fix it. Yeah, congratulations. You're going to fix it so foreign IP addresses can now apply for fucking government loans. Or relief. And it's not verifying, they're not verifying your income, which obviously was a part of this, that you had to fall within a certain income bracket, but they're not verifying that. So basically anybody's going to sign up for this. What was the other thing? Crashes, obviously, every now and then. Oh, and they're already having what looks like fraud come through. And everybody needs to be careful when they fill this shit out, that they're not filling anything specific out, because we aren't going to contact you in any way. So if you're getting text messages regarding your student loans, that's not us. Don't give away your personal information. Yeah, all right, whatever. So I don't have a student loan that at all. that would be getting paid off with this. I did have one that actually wasn't covered for military stuff and did have to pay it, so that would be cool to get repaid for that. But anyway, long story. So yeah, legal standing. I wonder if this is actually going to go through and be legal until somebody brings it up, like Congress, who perhaps is like, no, suck it. I don't know. We'll find out. Oh, and then Biden snapped the other day at a couple reporters yesterday while he was getting off, I believe it was the Air Force One or getting on to Marine One, I don't know. They were, shouting questions at him, and dumbass decided to respond. One of the questions was why, there aren't too many Democrats, basically. There aren't too many candidates that have wanted you to be on the campaign trail. Do you know why that is? I think is what her question was. And he's like, what are you talking about? There have been 15 people we've been, campaigning with. Blah, blah, blah. And you need to get your numbers right, kid. Shit like that. It was funny. And then she's like, okay, well, are there going to be more? And he's like, of course there's going to be more. Yeah, okay. I can't. No, you haven't been to 15 campaigns. Sorry, Gramps. And he went to campaign with Fetterman yesterday. And Fetterman finally put on a suit. And boy, I mean, that guy looks retarded anyway. He looks like a goddamn inmate with his tattoos and everything else. Like, I'm tattooed, but Jesus Christ, this guy's got some weird-ass tattoos that look, honestly, like jailbird tattoos on his arms. He acts like he is an inmate, and I'm not just saying because he's talks stupid. I think he's truly stupid. Like, I don't think he's very educated, period, prior to his stroke, which, by the way, they're calling a disability. His campaign is, please, I'm sorry, you do not have a disability from when you get a stroke. It's called symptoms or after effects or lingering effects, whatever you want to call it. Regardless, a stroke is not a disability. Neither does any of the side effects come from it. So that was cute. And then Fetterman's wife bitched because that one reporter who did an interview with him, that was a joke. I didn't even watch the interview, but the very little I did was like, holy shit. I want to watch that debate between him and Oz. She said, he's having trouble with shit when he's not in front of the prompter, and she's like, I want an apology. Meow, meow, meow. All this shit. So anyway, so Biden flipped out about that, and then like 2 seconds later, some dude asked him, do you believe in restrictions on abortions? Do you believe there should be restrictions on abortions? And he said, yeah, man, or whatever the fuck he said. Which is interesting, because that is not what the Democrats have been running on. For example, let me bring it up on my phone real quick. Plop. Basically Roe v. Wade, I think it was under Casey, the additional case that went under Roe v. Wade, basically set up a framework of trimesters. So the first trimester is completely up to the individual and their doctor. Second trimester, state can only regulate abortion if necessary to protect patient health. Third trimester, after fetal viability, government could regulate and ban abortion to further its interest in potentially of life. So that is not what the Democrats have been running on, because they passed a bill in the House, obviously had no chance in the Senate, that was HR 8296. And I pulled it up here, and this is what it says. And this passed. It says, specifically, governments may not limit a provider's ability to 1. Prescribe certain drugs, 2. Offer abortion services via telemedicine, or 3. Immediately provide abortion services when the provider determines a delay risks the patient's health. Furthermore, governments may not require a provider to 1. Perform unnecessary medical procedures, 2. Which basically means like, what they're talking about there is really sick, because like in some of these states, when you get an abortion, from what I understand, like the doctor has to actually go through with you like what's going to happen during the abortion. And like some of the states require an ultrasound to happen prior to, so the mother like knows and all this shit. So that's actually getting rid of that process, which is trying to dull the abortion situation down to a more, I don't know the word that they're, I don't know the term to use that they're doing. It's like dulling down to make this seem as it's not important. It's just simple. It's not life. It's just there kind of thing. 2, provide medically inaccurate information. That doesn't even make sense. Governments may not require a provider to provide medically inaccurate information. What the fuck does that even mean? 2, comply with credential or other conditions that do not apply to providers whose services are medically comparable to abortions, or carry out all services connected to an abortion. That sounds ridiculous. So you don't want the provider to carry out all services connected to the abortion. That doesn't even make sense. In addition, governments may not, 1, require patients to make medically unnecessary in-person visits before receiving abortion services, or disclose their reasons for obtaining such services. So in other words, you can just walk in. You don't even need to do an in-person visit. You can just be like, oh, I did something through telemedicine. I'm here to abort this child. 2, prohibit abortion services before fetal viability or after fetal viability when a provider determines the pregnancy risks the patient's life or health. Okay? So that's, governments may not regulate that, which is interesting. They use patient's life or health because health would mean whether you're dead or alive, right? Life, on the other hand, since it's, you'd think it would be repetitive, life is talking about your economic circumstances, your emotional circumstances, that type of shit. It's not just talking about your health. It says the bill also provides for governmental measures that are similar to the bill's specified restrictions or otherwise single out and impede access to abortion services unless a government demonstrates that the measure significantly advances the safety of abortion services or health of patients and cannot be achieved through less restrictive means. The Department of Justice, individuals, or providers may bring lawsuit to enforce this bill, and states are not immune from suits for violation. So basically, they are from conception to ultimate fetal viability, coming out of the fucking crotch of these chicks. Live baby, breathing, heartbeat, everything. So they are for what? Infanticide? Is that what that's called? To murder a baby. That's what the Democrats are for. They are not for the Roe v. Wade restrictions that were put in the framework through Casey. Period. So that was an interesting remark made by the President of the United States. And I'm wondering if his party is going to rebuke, say anything, if anyone's going to follow up with that, or they're just going to ignore, like even the media, just ignore that comment was ever made. I don't know. So, but besides that, the market's tanked. Obviously, it's up. Let's see. Looks like it's up 389 right now. The Dow's up 389 right now. Still in the 30,000s. We were in like what 38,000 or 39,000. This motherfucker came into office. So about 30% of your 401k is gone. For those of you who don't have a 401k and you actually have the ability to have one, I would highly suggest jumping in on that when you can right now. I wouldn't put too much money towards it, and I would, depending on your age, either do like a stable portfolio or a more aggressive one if you're younger, because now is the time to get in on this type of situation, even though you may lose some money in the meantime, because it's not like you're putting $1,000 towards your 401k every week. And if you are, then you shouldn't be having a 401k for that purpose. You should be in portfolios. But anyway, yeah, I would highly suggest that, because this is the perfect time. They're losing money. Had you come in the end of the Trump administration, things were going pretty high, and for quite a while, obviously, for a long, long time. You would have made money, obviously. If you came in through the second half of his administration, you would have made money, but then you just lost all of it under Biden. So you want to buy low, sell high type of situation. So you want to buy low, get in, put your money in. Yeah, it may dip a bit in the meantime, but once things start to pick up again, you will be better off than had someone started going in during the Trump administration. Obviously, they'd have more money in there by now, but beside the point. That would be my financial recommendation. Saying that we are not in a recession is retarded. We were in a recession like a few months ago, and that's just by data. GDP, too negative GDP all the time has been for years. I don't know if decades, but for years, at least a couple decades. I know that, so I forget how old I am and what year it is. Means you're headed into a recession, or you're in recession, one of the two. And this motherfucker is just like, oh no, it's not gonna recession, no, there's no recession. And then they're like, there's a possibility, but it's not likely. It's like, you assholes, you fucking assholes. Are you kidding me? What part, like this administration is so damaging. It's shocking. I never thought, I knew it was gonna be bad, but I never would have bet on even that he would have been able to tank, and his party tank this country so badly in the first what is that 18 months or something that he's been in, or 20 months that he's been in office. I mean, it's like, it's amazing. It honestly reminds me of, like, you know those games, if some of you may know, like Tropico? Tropico is a game you can get on many different platforms, Xbox, computer, whatever, where you are a leader of a country, you pick it, and then you start putting, stuff together in your little country. You do imports, exports. I mean, it gets pretty detailed. You do hospitals, you do buildings, you do commerce and all kinds of stuff. You take care of your people and all this shit, and you get points and money and blah blah blah. And if you have one of the expanded versions, like, people can come attack you too. It reminds me of one of those games, a first time player who has just set everything accidentally on fire. There aren't enough firemen to put it out, and the fucking island just burns. And they happen to hit the save button accidentally, so they can't go back and undo what they did. So that when they respawn, their shit's already on fire. Like, that's exactly what this administration is like to me. I swear to God. And then China is obviously going to be invading Taiwan. Duh. I said by the end of the year. Now everybody else is saying by the end of the year or the beginning of next year. It's like, you got to take the weather in account. You got to take who's in office, what we're doing, perfect timing, all this stuff. If the fucking Chinese were to do this, I would say this year or in January would be the perfect time, politically based, for the United States to be fucked. Not only that, our military is willfully unprepared, personnel wise. Even from what I understand, what the fuck is the term? What the hell is the term? Weapons. We don't have the weapons to be doing this. Nothing's been upgraded. The appropriations that was asked to put towards the military for 2023 is an increase. However, it doesn't adjust for inflation, so it's actually a decreased budget for the military next year. And we need to bust up military spending. I mean, it's ridiculous. I don't understand what's happening. And then the military goes all fucking woke, retarded. I got news for you. They started doing that shit under Obama. That's one of the reasons I didn't like shit. And it was like the last 4 years of my service, and it was under Obama. So it was like, it was getting tweaked weird then. But it's like full-blown retard is the direction they went. Like everybody else in this country. Full-blown retard. I don't know what God sent down to this earth. I swear to God, he must have sent down, accidentally, a busted prototype of a human. And that human, or humans, just a group maybe, few males, few females, were dropped in different places in the United States and spawned, and then all this shit just tanked. I mean, that's the only thing. It's like God couldn't recall them fast enough, and they spawned these little creatures, and now we are where we are. I can't believe there is basically pornographic shit being shown to young children in elementary schools, even high schools, middle schools, whatever. It's like, no, I'm sorry, that's inappropriate. They're trying to literally groom children to be abused, for one, but also pedophilia, trying to make that normal. I mean, any teacher that is willing to teach a young child, or even middle school, or any school, any grade school, I wouldn't agree with. And to even learn it, if you learned this in college in a class, what the fuck? You obviously haven't been doing much on how to masturbate and touch yourself. Excuse me, you're going to talk to a 5 or 6-year-old about that? What happens, teach, when that 5 or 6-year-old doesn't quite understand, just like when you're trying to tell them to pick up a pencil or draw this or draw that, and you have to go over and show them exactly what you're trying to get across so they're able to do it right? Are you telling me, perhaps nobody's gone into it, that these teachers are touching these children during this time period? I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised. I think there should be cameras in every fucking classroom at this point. Period. End of story. I think parents should take time on a rotating basis to be in these classes. I mean, it is absurd how badly this has gotten. And James and I had a very long conversation. That'll be a different video because obviously this is run long, talking about how the school system, the Democrats, what's been built, how things are going, how this happened, where this came from, how did we get here kind of conversation. And it was really interesting. Maybe I'll have it with him again or something. We'll record it. Anyway, that's another video. I think I've rambled on enough. This is Are You Ready For It? Take care, guys. Have a great day.